So you're thinking about going to work for a startup. You've kind of done your due diligence and you feel like the business model that they're bringing forward has some potential, and you feel like that it could really gain some traction in the near term and really be a takeoff business, and you would really like to be part of it early on because you're thinking 5 years from now I may be retired. This idea is so great. Well, let's go over some of the terminology that will help you in the interview process to understand a little bit better what's going on with that startup. So the first thing we're going to look at is what's called dilution. So if we look at how a business kind of starts off, all businesses start off losing money. They don't have customers yet. They have expenses, employees, training, marketing, equipment they have to buy, depreciation, all those things. They haven't made a widget yet. Until that company hits its break even, all of the money month over month that it's spent is what's called dilution. And that firm has to have been able to cover those costs until it hits the break-even point, and then finally goes on from there to make a profit. So understanding the amount of dilution that they are projecting that the firm will have before it makes it to profitability, is an important piece of that. So the firm really has to have enough money to cover that dilution with some amount of kind of fudge to make sure that they can get past that break-even point and stay in business. Now, there are two ways that a firm can get the money to pay for that dilution. One is take on equity holders, and the other is debt. So in your startup scenario, typically all of that money is going to be equity because kind of for two reasons. First is that who really wants to lend money to a startup company when if that company goes out of business, you're not going to get your funds back, and you're getting this kind of fixed return back, but you're not getting to share in the massive upside if it's successful. So you're kind of putting your money in to hope for a small return, where if you put that same money in and it's successful, you could get much greater amounts later. So debt at that stage doesn't make sense. Additionally, even if the startup could take on debt, a lot of times they're not willing to do so because they hit a point, a little rough patch in the road, and they're not able to begin making the debt payments that they need to make, and it can only compound their problems that they have. That's a little bit on how the capital structure works. Now, run rate is the amount of money in that initial dilution phase where that firm's having to pile this cash in month after month. And that run rate is the amount of money they're losing that month. Kind of their runway is the amount of months they can afford to fund the operations of the business on that current run rate. So if a firm has $1 million, let's say, and their run rate is $100,000 a month, they could be in business for 10 more months before they go out of business. Ideally, that trajectory is moving positively, and if they lose $100,000 the first month, maybe they're losing $80 the next, and then $60, and then finally on a trajectory to break even. But understanding how that run work and those things pan out can be an important determination as to whether or not you should take a position at that firm, because obviously if the firm runs out of money, everyone's getting laid off, and as a result then you're right back into the job market again, or you may even given up your prior position in order to take a position with this firm. Now you've kind of moved on from your last job without the stability of having the next job work out. Another, or maybe the most important thing to listen for, is if they say they're going to pivot on their current strategy, or they're pivoting, or they've found a way to modify their existing strategy. Because if they're pivoting, that means their initial strategy did not work, or is for some reason not gaining traction. Now, sometimes a pivot can be fantastic for a firm, but a lot of times it can be being done as maybe a last-ditch effort to try to get the firm to break even before the firm runs out of money. So listen for all these terms, kind of know how they interrelate. If you're going to go to work for a startup firm, hopefully this information finds you well. If you like it, click the subscribe button, and as always, have a great day. Well, we have about 3 months runway, but don't worry, we're currently pivoting our current strategy, and we think we should be phenomenally profitable maybe in 3 years.